symbolic interactionist perspective. This perspective, one important feature that you need to, right at the beginning, to recognize is that it is a micro-level approach. Okay, it differentiates from the two major perspectives, structural, functional, and social conflict. These are macro-level approaches. The bigger issues that they focus on, structural maybe conditions in the economy, global inequality, issues within the institutions. A micro-level orientation tends to focus really down on little things, on the interactions of individuals per se. And so this is an important feature that you need to remember. So to give you, first of all, a general definition, the symbolic interactionist approach really sees society as a product of everyday interactions of individuals, okay, on the individual level. The main contributors to this approach would be George Herbert Mead, Erving Kaufman, Georg Simmel, Peter Berger, and Thomas Luckmann. They were actually the authors of Social Construction of Reality. Okay, so to give you a brief explanation of how you could use this approach, take for instance, if you ever go to a restaurant or movie theater, let's just say a restaurant, and you notice that there's a whole world out there that really is very mystical, and how the waiter acts in front of you, how the managers act in front of you, and how they dress, how they appear, right? They are acting almost weirdly, sort of creating reality for you. And this would be a point of analysis for a symbolic interactionist. Take, for instance, shopping behavior. How do people behave in a supermarket, right? Sometimes I used to call them shopping zombies, but there's something there of routinization, for instance. Shopping as a means of collective action, social action, and having to shop with others. How do you treat them? So basically, we know that we live in a world of symbols, that there's certain meanings attached to them. Maybe the distinctive features of language, even slang, or how does language differentiate, even English language. And there's a different spoken English, Oxford to Southern English to say people who come from Boston, they have a different accent. People who come from Chicago also have a different way of seeing or using language. So in this approach, the importance is how reality is constructed and how we define our surroundings. And it's a fruitful way of looking at the world. However, it is a macro perspective. It doesn't really want to look into bigger social issues or conflicts. Basically, I would say as a critique, one major critique that you can give of this approach, it concentrates too much on the little things. Okay, it really does. It concentrates too much on individuals, and it tends to lose sight on bigger things, social factors. Take, for instance, class, domination, okay, gender, race, global inequalities. That pretty much throws that one out of the window. If you're focusing on symbolic features, you tend to not look into critical things like the unequal distribution of wages, or such things. So, in sum, I've just discussed the three major perspectives. I think you should probably pick one or two that you prefer, but a really good sociologist tends to be able to argue from each perspective and each view. if you combine the three, I think then you'll have a better understanding of society and you'll be able to use it.